Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard to the newest episode of Dropkicks and Attractions podcast here on the Dropkicks and Attractions podcast radio network. I am, of course, your newly formed pop culture powerhouse. I came up with that one. I like that one.
Good.
And Invictus, and I am joined, of course, by someone who's not only just a cutie pie, he's the whole damn bakery, Big Bach. Hello, sir.
Hello, Xander. How are you doing today?
Better now that you're here.
Oh, I'm so flattered.
Good. I totally 100% mean that.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, sure. Anyways, well, welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. We have all kinds of busy upcoming events coming up here on the show. We are 2 weeks away from King of the Ring 93. We also have, so in about 2 weeks on the show, we're going to have King of the Ring full on pay-per-view, its own episode. The week after that, we have Clash of the Champions. So we'll have Raw Saturday Night Clash of the Champions. And then in July, we have Beach Blast, which we found out this week. At least I realized this week where it's going to be from. I don't remember if this is the first time they announced it, but we find out where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
And in August, we have SummerSlam.
Yeah, going to be a busy couple of episodes for us.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy couple of months here on the show. Of course, we are starting out, of course, with the concession stand. What have you been watching, consuming, reading, writing, arithmeticking?
I've actually been reading a new series called The Others by Anne Bishop.
Okay.
The planet's laid out the same as Earth, but humans are very much the minority.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that live in the wild country. Some of them are shapeshifters and they interact with humans. Some of them are not.
Okay. Is it like high fantasy? Like what genre-wise, what would you classify it as?
I would call this modern fantasy because there are characters with smartphones.
Oh, okay. Like almost like an alternate history, or is this more like full-on fantasy?
Alternate history is the better way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as anime goes, I started Tony Cowell back up. That's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Still haven't gotten back around to Laid Back Camp. That's a little disappointing.
Yeah.
But I think I am going to start my yearly rewatch of Hyoka soon.
Okay. Well, at least someone will.
Mm-hmm. And then YouTube is just basically the same stuff I've been doing. Diamond Axe Studios, Technology Connections, Aging Wheels, Time the Shadows.
Anything jumping out particular?
Nothing specific. I rewatched the first half of Sean Fay Wolf's top 10 worst hit songs of 2022. That I'd forgotten how good that video is.
He's like I said, I'm not a big on like music reviews, but you got me to watch him, so.
Mm-hmm. I don't listen to a lot of the radio anymore, so a lot of my exposure to that is from him and from Mark Grondin of Spectrum Pulse, who actually has a second channel where all he does is document the movement of the Hot 100.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Spectrum Pulse is one I forgot about.
Oh, okay.
How about you, Xander? What have you been indulging in?
Well, I tried to start watching the TV show Taxi, late 70s, early 80s show about taxi drivers.
I know of it, never seen it.
Well, just for some reason, I guess, I'm just been having trouble with trying to watch it on Pluto. I think I might try to watch it elsewhere, because it was actually still funny. And it's funny that you see a lot of, because it has Danny DeVito, Tony Danza, Judd Hirsch, Christopher Lloyd, which there's an episode, I think it's in the first or second season, that's considered one of the greatest TV episodes of all time. And anybody that's Taxi, it's the one where they try to get his character, Reverend Jim, a driver's license, and he has to take the driver's test.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the one scene, and anybody that's seen that episode knows it's quite riotous when it comes to the laughter.
I gotcha.
So I might try to find it on Tubi or, one of the other streaming sites, because I've been really just not really watching a lot of new stuff. I've been going back to old shows that either I remember watching as a kid or I know that are good. Like, I was thinking about I used to watch 227 as a kid, like any of like the 80s sitcoms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of the stuff I watched as a kid was Star Trek. That was so much fun.
Fair. Procedurals and sitcoms is basically what I grew up on, and then shows from like the 60s. Like I grew up watching like Gilligan's Island a lot as a kid, and westerns were watched in my house when I was young. So I like watching like Western TV shows, stuff like that. And we've talked about my love for the 60s Batman TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Book wise, I'm actually all I read. The only time I have time to read is at work. I've been reading this book called "Serial Murders and Their Victims."
Oh, wow.
It's an actual. It's a like a not a textbook per se, but it's like a not like a textbook like big old textbook, but it's like a it's a book you would use like in a class, an
Gotcha.
academic written. I guess you would call it an academically written,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Once again, that's something I found fascinating, like genetically how that works and psychologically how that works with different things. I've always found that fascinating. So I read a lot of true crime and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been into true crime for a while too. Like back when I had Netflix, I went through all of the forensic files they had on there.
Oh, I remember that.
Well, that's right. That's when we were living together.
YouTube wise, a lot of the same stuff. Like I just watched the Electrics, the one with Eric and his girlfriend. They just did the top 10 most unhealthy burgers, like fast food burgers, especially calorie wise.
I see.
And Wendy's has at least, at the corner of the video, and this was, a few days ago. This was their most recent one. Had one where it was 1,500 calories.
Was it some variation of the Baconator?
It was like a pretzel. Like they use a pretzel bun, which I like pretzel buns anyways. But it's like a pretzel bun pub burger of some sort. But yeah, I think it was like 1,500 calories for one burger.
I think I remember seeing that advertised, like going through the drive-thru, but I never had one.
Apparently, it's good. They both loved it. So
Mm-hmm.
he gave it 5 stars. So, but a lot of times they'll find a list or some kind of ranking of unhealthiest stuff, and then that's what they'll like have all 10 of them in the video.
Right.
Another one that I want to shout out because I'm a big, obviously I'm big into food.
Mm-hmm.
I would consider myself a foodie, but I don't like the term because it comes off very pretentious.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And anybody that knows me knows that's farthest from the case from what I am. Because it has an air of arrogance about the word, and I'm just not a fan of the word. But I would consider myself one. It's one of those. I would consider myself one, but I just don't like the term.
Right.
But anyways, and then I'm also a big into history, just in general. I like watch. That was one thing I got from my dad. Always watching like history shows, and like I like reading about like history in general.
Gotcha.
So I accidentally came across a channel that combines both of them.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, it's called Tasting History with Max Miller. And basically what he does is, it's funny, like you always find these YouTube channels like, oh yeah, I have 4 million followers, and you've never heard of the channel.
Yeah, I've had that happen too.
Yeah, like this one's a very successful channel. And basically what he does is he'll go through and talk about a specific meal and then talk about the historical event or the historical happening around it, but he also makes it by the recipe that's given.
Cool.
And the most recent one, like I watched one where it was an ancient, like he went to visited this ancient Roman fort that was in England, what's now England.
Okay.
This was during the height of the Roman Empire, like first century.
Right.
And he used the ingredients that they had and made like this, it was like pork and apples and like meatballs. And it looked amazing. He said it was fantastic.
Neat.
But he used the same ingredients and tried to get as many with measurements. But he was using like actual stuff. But his most recent one, or before I get to that, there was also, he did a month of Titanic where he did like the first class, second class, third class meals. Explain the experience of being in those different classes on the ship, what they ate, and then he took items from their menus. Like these are menus that were actually recovered and made them.
Awesome.
Yeah. But the most recent one, and this one I found fascinating, is it was what they had to eat at Alcatraz. Yeah, and what it was, and it was the meal was. It was also something that was the meal that the prisoners got was the same meal that the guards got.
Right.
So obviously the guards aren't going to eat garbage, but the food that they had was just crazy. Like you don't expect prison food. When you hear prison food, you think some kind of institutionalized slop.
Yeah, basics.
Yeah, but I mean, that's one of those things. Without getting on my horse, it's like that's, I think they can do something better with prison food. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without getting into semantics and politics, that's just my opinion. But they had and then apparently, according to the his research, the families of the guards and their families lived on the island as well, so they had like the wives or whoever put together this cookbook. So he got recipes from that cookbook because it would basically have been roughly the same thing that the prisoners ate.
Gotcha.
And the reason the prisoners ate well like that, there was a methodology behind it, behind the guy that was the original warden.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are like 20, this is like a long form, this is like 20, usually these are like 20, 30-minute videos, very well researched and everything. But he made a stuffed pork chops, one of those, like a cucumber and onion salad, and what was called quickie apple pie, which it's called quickie because there's no crust.
Mm-hmm.
And he said basically when it was done cooking, it reminded me of like a apple pie pudding.
Neat.
Yeah. So like if you like history, you like food, or like, oh, this is what ancient Romans ate, or there's one I keep seeing on my recommended I might watch where it's like, oh, this is what Attila the Hun ate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so once again, it's called Tasting History. It's a fantastic channel.
I'll look into that.
Yeah. So, and then, obviously all the other same stuff that I watch every week. I just watched the most recent Cinema Snob where he talked about the original Phantasm.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, Dead Meat just finished the last of the, Critters quadrilogy.
Cool.
By the way, I love that word.
Critters?
Quadrilogy.
Oh.
Well, Critters too, but yeah, just the word quadrilogy is just, I try to use that as much as I can because that's just a fun word to say.
Yeah, I prefer the alternate form, tetralogy.
That's actually not bad either. But then they're actually they're going to do the Urban Legend trilogy.
Ooh, cool.
So, you know me, I've been watching that channel many. They're at 5 or 6 million. I was within the first million.
Nice.
Like subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
I was there before he hit 1 million, and he's at 5 or 6 right now.
Gotcha.
So I've been there a long time. I think we were still roommates when I started watching him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But anyways, so that's what we've been watching now. And now let's get to Tubi or not Tubi. And I can guarantee at least one of us enjoyed ourselves this week.
I can guarantee I had fun.
Well, okay. Well, then I was right. Go ahead, sir.
Alrighty. I watched the Spanish dub of the musical Till the Clouds Roll By. It's about the life of Jerome Kern, who was a real person. He wrote music for Broadway in the early 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
And the songs were still in English with Spanish subtitles, but all the dialogue was in Spanish with English subtitles.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think I would have enjoyed the movie more if I'd watched it with the original English voices, but it was a fascinating look. It's a fictionalized account of the man's life, but it was still fun.
Yeah, I think that was funny. I think that's what I like about our segment here is that I've seen this. Like I grew up my parents were big musical fans, so I grew up watching. Like I've seen this.
Mm-hmm.
Like the majority of any kind of the known movie musicals I've seen.
Gotcha.
Like I'm actually a closet musical fan. I do it like a good musical.
Cool.
But yeah, I just like that because we talk about subbed and dubbed on here before because, you watch a lot of anime, I watch a lot of foreign movies.
Mm-hmm.
So you got subbed and dubbed in the same movie.
Yeah, my attitude toward the whole thing is I want the original voice track.
Sure, and I'm sure you can find it whether on Tubi or elsewhere.
Right.
And are you a big into musicals in general? Is that something you've watched before? Like, not say this movie, but like just musicals in general?
I saw a lot of the Disney Renaissance back in the 90s. A lot of those were musicals.
Sure, but like a live action musical like this.
Okay, like that? No.
Okay. Is that something you would seek out now because of this? Like, just what you would like any kind of musical?
Honestly, I might.
Okay. I might give you some off
camera.
Yeah, because like I said, I grew up with these kind of movies, so.
Mm-hmm. I would rate this at a 3 stars, just nice and average. And what did you watch, Xander?
Oh, by the way, I'm fully caught up on Letterboxd, so hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
I rolled horror, which normally I would be excited. I watched an anime from 1987 named Wicked City. It's considered a Japanese adult animated dark fantasy action horror.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the thing. I like body horror. Like David Cronenberg. Anybody that knows David Cronenberg as a director knows, like, I would say the most mainstream movie you might have heard of is The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, it's another one I know of but have never seen.
That's body horror, where it's like, you know how his body changed throughout the movie and how gruesome it got?
Right.
That's what David Cronenberg does. He's the most famous director when it comes to body horror. Like, oh god, I just blanked on Rabid, and what's that other one I have? Oh, of course, it's not around when I need it. But they also have stuff like the Sister Sisters did a movie like called American Mary, where there's a lot of like body modification, body horror, and this is what this was. Like, oh, this is cool, and it's animated, so you could have done more stuff with it. But I felt because basically the idea of the movie, and it's something you've seen before. Two warring factions, they have a ceasefire treaty. We need to take the person who's going to be in charge of the ceasefire proceedings to, re-up the treaty. So you have the human and a demon, because it's humans and demons in this.
Okay.
We have to take the guy that's basically going to run the proceedings to this location. The demons don't want this; they want to take over.
Right.
And the good demon is from the same faction. We've seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you want a science fiction, and I'm not a big science fiction guy, you know this.
Right.
If you want a movie that does this right in live action, look up Alien Nation.
Never heard of that one.
It's a fantastic movie. It's got Dennis Quaid, I think it's Dennis Quaid and James Caan. Basically, it's like humans and aliens working together, where you get you delve into the whole class warfare, racism type thing. It was also like a 2 or 3 season TV show on Fox, but Alien Nation's a fantastic movie. It's a science fiction action, but there was so much sex shoehorned into this to the point I was like, this is up there with romance with the amount of sex that's in this movie.
Did it serve the plot, or was it just
no? Yeah, like here's the thing with romance, it furthered the plot because that was the plot of the movie. Her whole sexual awakening and whatever.
Right.
So yes, it was realistic, but to me, it made sense because it furthered the plot. It was part of the plot, as graphic as it was.
Right.
This starts out with straight up the man. He's like a ladies' man, and he goes to bed with this woman who is actually a demon disguising herself as this woman to get his, for lack of a better term, matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And it's just there was tentacles involved. Like the main character, like the two main characters, the guy that they try to, who's in charge of the proceedings is just like the biggest old wrinkly pervert who all he wants to do is go to the red light district and then you come to find out, oh, by the way, you guys were supposed to be together the whole time for this process because you guys are going to have sex and have a baby, like half demon, half human, because that's going to, it's going to this whole new save the whole thing because now we have half demon, half human baby. It was just
like we'll cement the alliance with a bloodline fusion.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. Exactly. But it was just like the body horror stuff doesn't bother me. Like once again, I'm a big David Cronenberg fan, and I like body horror movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
Sex doesn't bother me. But you can tell when stuff like that is shit. I felt this was shoehorned in it because there was so much that was just like, oh, and I'm not like, I don't king shame. Like if you like hentai stuff, God bless you. Some of this felt very hentai-ish.
Okay.
And it took me out of it. Like, this is now the worst movie I've seen on this show.
Really?
The worst movie has been replaced in a week.
Wow.
I would never watch this again.
Okay.
Can I be honest with you?
Knock yourself out.
I didn't finish this.
Oh, really? It was that bad?
I looked up the rest of it on Wikipedia. This is an hour and 20 minutes. I had about half an hour left.
Oh, jeez.
Like, it felt like a lot of the sex stuff was there, not only shoehorned in, parts of it were there at the expense of the rest of the thing. Like, once again, alienation, the whole class warfare, racism thing with warring factions, humans and aliens, awesome. Once again, I remember watching that as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching the TV show as a kid. You can do that. Like, they've had warring class warfare and warring factions since Shakespeare. Look at Romeo and Juliet.
Gotcha.
That's warring factions to a T.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything that's based off Romeo and Juliet, like, this is not a new concept. You're talking about something that's 800 years old, this story.
Right.
But it was just, and once again, I'm not a prude. Sex doesn't bother, but you can tell when stuff is shoehorned in to the expense of the movie.
Right.
And I can no 1 star. I cannot recommend it, even as a Japanese. Like, I don't know, as an anime fan, I don't know if I can recommend this. As a body horror fan, I don't know if I can recommend this. As a hentai fan, like, I don't know enough about hentai to know if I can recommend this or not. Like, anywhere you look at it, I don't know if I can recommend it.
Gotcha.
And trigger warning: if you do watch this, there is a SA scene.
Oh God.
Yeah. So, 1 star. This is the worst movie I've seen since I've had Letterboxd. I got maybe an hour into an 80-minute movie. I would watch Free the Nibble again before I watch this.
Oh my gosh. That's a pretty damning indictment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, shall we move on to the wrestling?
Well, let's see what we're watching next week.
All right. I'm ahead of myself.
Yes, you are. Okay, sir. What genre would you like today?
I'm feeling based on true events.
Nope. But it's something I think you might be interested in, though.
Alrighty, what have I spun?
Sci-fi and fantasy.
Ooh. I like a good sci-fi and fantasy.
Mm-hmm. And 1 to 30.
4 always wins.
You like your 4, don't you? And you're not getting it.
So yeah.
You got 24, so you got a 4 in there.
24.
So we got sci-fi and fantasy. 24, 3. Okay, so that's 6. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Alrighty, don't leave me in suspense.
I would say you're not a prude,
No, I'm not.
but you don't seek out kind of like adult style movies.
No.
Guess what you get?
What do I get?
A comedy adult fantasy horror movie called Astonishing Tales of Terror, Roctopussy.
Oh my.
It is called a group of everyday heroes find the fight of their lives deep in the mines of northern Ontario where they unwittingly awaken a giant octopus.
Oh geez.
And this looks like something I would watch, like some softcore stuff I would watch on, like, I'm not seeing like any sex scenes, but this is like a very late night Cinemax style movie.
Okay.
You would watch two in the, like, it looks like there's nudity, but it doesn't look like I said, it's one of the genres it picks is adult. So
Gotcha.
So yeah, this is from last year, actually. Rated TVMA, comedy, adult, fantasy, horror. Well, let's put it this way. You may also like Giantess Battle, Attack, Paranormal Activity, Fem Alien Starlight Saga, Giantess Attack versus Mecha Fembot, Kung Fu and Titties, and The Co-Ed and the Zombie Cylinder. Those are the movies that are recommended along with this movie. So those are the kind of movies that, hey, if you like this movie, try out Kung Fu and Titties.
Oh, jeez. What have you gotten me into again?
Like, this was something I would watch at least once on purpose, and I know you would never seek this out.
Absolutely not.
So, all right, you get Roctopussy, and I will spin for myself.
What genre are you hoping for?
Anything that's not that, what I watched this week.
Okay.
I get another Western, actually.
Cool.
Which, last time I got a Western, it was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, so...
And you've talked at length about how much you like that movie.
Mm-hmm. Hey, well, you got 24, I got 14.
Alrighty.
So, 3, 6, 12. I have heard of this movie. It's a new one. We're both getting new movies. Which, funny, what was what was the movie before this?
Was it The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly again?
No, it was Tombstone, which is an amazing fucking movie.
Yeah, that's another one. Heard of it, never seen it.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, it might be one of my favorite Westerns. Like, some people consider it one of their all-time favorite movies, period.
Gotcha.
Actually, The Good and the Bad, the Ugly is actually recommended. But this is called, and is a starring Clint Eastwood, directed by Clint Eastwood.
Ooh.
Crime Macho. It is a drama Western. It is a washed-up rodeo star is hired to retrieve his ex-boss's troublesome son from Mexico. He bonds with the teen during their arduous trip to the border.
Sounds fun.
This is modern. This is not a new movie period piece. This is a new, like, modern You know, this, like I said, it's not a period piece.
This is a Western in modern times, is what you're saying.
Yes. And I'm a big fan of not only Clint Eastwood as an actor, obviously, uh, director. He, like I said, he did, we talked about Gran Torino. He directed that. He directed Million Dollar Baby. Like, as a director, he's up there as one of those that can act as well as he can direct and vice versa.
Cool.
So whether or not I like this, but it's enough that if it's a Western with Clint Eastwood, directed by Clint Eastwood, I'll at least, this is one I would watch strictly on reputation.
Gotcha.
So I'm excited. So you finally get a movie that you're not looking forward to, and I get one I am.
I don't know what to think about the movie you rolled for me.
Don't blame me. That's how the dice roll.
I'm not blaming you.
Enjoy that.
Alrighty.
Now we can get to the wrestling. We're 2 weeks out from King of the Ring. We're 3 weeks out from Clash of the Champions, which is going to happen like 3 or 4 days after King of the Ring, so with the same week.
Right.
Once again, Monday Night Raw is May 31st, 1993, from
the Manhattan Center.
Absolutely. We open up because this is Memorial Day. Hacksaw Jim Duggan's out front, open up with a tribute to Memorial Day. And out of anybody, especially in 93, that's going to rouse the crowd and rouse America for Memorial Day, it's Hacksaw.
Yeah, I could tell that he was perfect for that just based on what I've seen of him since we've been doing this.
He would come out to the marches when you think of like parades. He always had the American flag. Once again, his knee job was called Old Glory. Like he's America.
Gotcha.
This is one of those full 100% on brand. But once again, we've established I like Hacksaw anyways. I still do.
Is he still wrestling?
Okay, he'll does he's far from retired, but he does the occasional show still.
Cool.
Once again, you're talking like 30 some odd years later. He'll do the occasional one.
Right. Obviously, once you get that old, you can't go like you used to. We saw that.
He's had health conditions since then, so.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll at least, he does a lot of conventions, or like if he doesn't wrestle, he'll be at a show to do a meet and greet.
Right.
So he's still active around like in that aspect, but like, God, I don't remember the last time he actually had a match. But like, you'll see him like, hey, Hacksaw's coming to our show for a meet and greet, or see him at, insert name here con,
Right.
So he's still active among like meet and greets and conventions and that stuff.
He's a personality. He's not really a wrestler anymore.
I would say so. Like I said, I can't remember the last time he actually had a match.
Mm-hmm.
So I know he did at least 10 years ago. He was doing matches in New York.
Gotcha.
Never on a show I did, but so we open up with one hell of a match.
Oh yeah.
It is for the Intercontinental title. Marty Jannetty is defending against who, sir?
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Who, once again, we've established, big fan of these guys. And it's a shame because Marty, obviously Marty Jannetty, his well-documented problems. You can see how good he was, especially in singles.
Yeah, this was a great match.
Like, and we also need to remember that they're both are seconded by ladies. Marty Jannetty is out with Sherry Martel, and Bam Bam's out with his main squeeze, Luna.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember reading stories, like I don't, once again, conjecture, grain of salt. There was I heard about rumors, possibility that when the Rockers first broke up, that Marty Jannetty was supposed to be the one they were going to push. Now, he was not going to be like the Heartbreak Kid, but they were going to push him as high, if not higher, than Shawn at one point.
Oh, really?
It never got that far, but I've heard that before. And I can see why. Just off wrestling ability, I can see why.
Yeah, and seeing him in this match, he was great.
Yeah, and then we're still continuing the storyline with Sherry and Luna. Sherry attacks Luna before the bell. Well, basically the wrestlers and then their valets split off and fight each other.
Yeah, Marty's just selling like mad, and it looked so fun.
Oh, yeah. And then I like, now that I'm starting to write down the quotes, so I'm not going, I wrote this down and don't know what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a close-up of Luna. And Bobby's like, you know what? I'd love to see a woman scalp. Because she had like the half shave.
Mm-hmm.
But it was skin. Like, shaved to the skin. There was no
hair left.
Bobby's like, I'd love to see a woman scalp. And I'm like, God damn it. And that's just like, you're talking about how Bobby, with like, his version. Remember, Bobby's always the heel announcer. He's always the color guy. Where his versions of how Marty got the title and won it from Shawn and all the thing. And I'm like, Bobby's not wrong.
Gonna say.
Where it's like, oh, he came in through in disguise through the crowd. He didn't get in line to get a shot. And then he was, he basically forced his way to get a title shot. Then he had Mr. Perfect come out and distract him to win the title. I'm like, I mean, is Bobby really that wrong, though?
Shawn did say he defended anywhere against anybody, so...
True. And like, once again, you know me in real life, I'm a very devil's advocate kind of person just in general.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really contrarian, but I'm devil's advocate. By the way, awesome movie, by the way.
Another one I've heard of, never seen.
Trailer, we'll put a trailer up.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put a trailer up on the Twitter page. Because we're going to start using the Twitter page. I swear to God, folks, I know it's been a few weeks.
I'm trying to do it. It's just a matter of remembering. Like, I don't have it on my phone yet, so I got to do it at home. And I haven't been at home much because I've been working so much.
Same. I have 3 days off, though, after today. So I'm good. I don't have to be at work until Friday. But anyways, Bobby's not wrong, though. Like, Marty came in disguise. Thanks, Alfred. Got in the ring. I know, but he said anybody, but he kind of was like, I want my title shot now. And then Mr. Perfect did help him win. Not necessarily, like, I don't think they were cahoots. But the fact that Mr. Perfect did that is what caused Marty to win, though.
I don't agree with that, because the only thing Mr. Perfect did was make sure Shawn couldn't run away.
What? He threw his towel in Shawn's face, and he distracted Shawn, and Marty rolled him up for the win.
Okay, I can kind of see that.
Yeah, you can see. Okay, obviously Bobby's skewered, but you can see where it comes from.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so, going back to the match, we get a nice recovery on, like, Marty landed on his feet from a back body drop, but just turned around into a bear hug.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little further back, I spotted you were right about the ref counting on the top rope. I saw that.
Yep. For those that don't know, technically, we talked about this last week, but technically, because you're on the ropes, you could actually, if you stay on the top rope too long, you technically could get disqualified because you're doing something off the ropes.
And then when Marty comes off the ropes and hits, if Bam Bam had countered, I would have called that a flying nothing.
I'd have to go back and watch it again because it's been a few days. And I did see a rare mistake from these guys where it looked like Marty was going for a victory roll, and I don't think it really went the way they wanted it to. It was right before, and then because right after that, Marty went for one too many head scissors, so it was right before the head scissors spot.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was on Bam Bam's shoulders looking like for a victory roll, and I don't think it turned out the way they wanted it to, at least. At least it looked like that to me.
Yeah, it looked like, that when he kind of the electric chair position and then Bigelow fell forward.
Yeah, and it looked like he was trying to roll up Bam Bam, but I don't think there might have been some sort of mix up somewhere because it didn't look as clean as a victory roll does.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the shoulder spot happens a couple more times, and Bigelow eventually splats Marty just by falling back.
Mm-hmm. And then we go to commercial. Bam Bam, we go to commercial, and Bam Bam is in control still.
Mm-hmm.
The ref damn near just gets waylaid.
Yeah, that was close. That
was close. We do get a nice comeback from Marty, though.
Crowd gets loud for him at this point.
Oh yeah, like he was over. Like they loved him. They loved him as much as they hated Shawn. Like, you know what? We'll make a note of this. We'll put the Rockers breakup in the chat, or excuse me, in our Twitter page.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go ahead and throw that up there, folks. The breakup. Anybody who's been watching wrestling as long as I have or follows like older stuff, you've seen the Rockers breakup. This is the famous throwing Marty through the window and everything.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, we'll put it up there. But by the way, nice Bam Bam. He went for a double underhook. I was wondering if he was going for double underhook backbreaker, which looked really cool.
Yeah, that looked great.
And so they go outside. They're fighting outside, and Sherry stops Bam Bam because Bam Bam's out on the arena floor. And Marty does take a chance, and it pays off going out diving. And they go back and forth. Bam Bam does take advantage and rolls Marty back in, while the ref's counting.
Mm-hmm.
But Sherry distracts him just long enough for the ref to call the count out, because even if you're on the I don't know if you noticed this, so even if you're on the apron, that's still considered outside. You can get on the apron and still get counted out. Like, you have to be in the ring for the count out to stop.
Yeah, I noticed that here for probably the first time.
Yeah, like, you can, if you're not fully, you have to be inside the ropes and not on the ring.
Right.
But yeah, Marty does get the win by countout.
Yeah, TV time of 9 minutes and 6 seconds. Good stuff.
Oh yeah, like, even as a countout, like, I like this. Like, it was like, the countout didn't bother me because it was Marty using his ring smarts to win, because he was obvious size disadvantage.
Obviously.
So he did what he knew to get the win. So this countout doesn't bother me.
It made sense.
Yeah. And so we go back from commercial, and Sherry comes out to call out Luna, and the ref starts to let him, break it up. I'm like, let him fight, ref.
Yeah.
And so Luna's, he's on the outside trying to block Luna from coming in. So Sherry gets out of the ring and comes around and attacks Luna, and we has a scrap.
Oh yeah, this was vicious.
And we've established both these women were very accomplished wrestlers, so this was not like real, cat fight.
This was legit.
Yeah, or how I'm going to call it Austin Powers, saucer milk, table 2, real.
Haven't seen those in ages.
They're great. I've actually seen all 3 of them.
I have too, but it's been a long time.
The first one's a classic, actually.
Agreed.
While these ladies are wrestling, Bam Bam comes out and holds Sherry back, and Luna starts beating the shit out of Sherry, but Marty's not the one that comes out and saves her.
No, Tatanka is.
Yes, because we're starting the Tatanka Bam Bam feud,
right?
Yeah, so Sherry does get saved, but I noticed Sherry had busted her chin open.
Yeah, I saw that.
So not only do we get blood in '93 on TV, it's blood from a woman.
Put it like that. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, she wasn't gushing. This wasn't like a crimson mask, but her chin was busted open.
Right.
And so we go into our next match with, the only reason I root for the University of Michigan, the Steiner brothers, against Rich Myers and the Executioner. And you know me, I need to know who's under the paint, who's under the mask. And without even looking, I knew who was under the mask.
Who was it?
It was Dwayne Gill.
Really?
Because if you remember the very first episode, the Steiner brothers went up against the Executioners, and, Dwayne Gill was under one of the masks. Mm-hmm. And we've watched enough of him recently, while we've done the show.
Right.
That if you watch Dwayne Gill with his mannerisms and the way he acts, and then you look at the Executioner here,
you can see the mannerisms.
100%. That's 100% Dwayne Gill.
Alrighty.
We talked about this the first episode, Rick Steiner with his not yo dick stiff lariat.
Yeah.
The Prior Prism. We saw it here again. We saw the Steiner line.
Oh yeah. There was a lot of the amateur wrestling background shining through here, and that made it really good.
Oh yeah, because they were very accomplished collegiate wrestlers, high level in college with the wrestling. Both of them were.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I did notice is that it looked like Rick was having a little trouble trying to do a camel clutch. I think it might have been he stumbled a little bit by the ropes.
Yeah, I saw him trying to do that. I thought it was just a rear chin lock.
No, it was a camel clutch because he got on the back. He was on his back. He had the whole full camel clutch, move.
Right.
And I also noticed the movie of the week. Vince announced what movie's playing on USA this week.
Remind us what it was?
The Dudley Moore classic, Arthur.
Oh.
So we'll put that trailer up for Twitter this week. And then, I don't know if you've seen this before, we saw the Steiner screwdriver. I might have been the first time on Raw, where Scott picked him up for the suplex and then dropped him with a pile driver.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay.
That's the Steiner screwdriver. And I think Scott is credited with inventing that move.
Cool.
And he just dropped on the top of his head.
Not fun.
No, normally that's a finisher but not only did we do the Steiner screwdriver, we got the poor Doomsday Bulldog on the same guy, and I was like, thank God they're pinning this, man.
Yeah, that took 4 minutes, 14 seconds. For basically enhancement, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it. Once again, no notes, no problems.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, we're back from commercial. We got our next match. Mr. Hughes versus Mr. Bert Centeno.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot to this match. I did notice Mr. Hughes hit him with a very rough-looking powerbomb.
That wasn't off the shoulder like the one Vader does, right?
I'll have to watch that again. But I know it's still rough-looking. But like I said, There was not much to this one compared to the last match.
No, this only took 3 minutes, and it was just I saw my notes said pretty unnoteworthy.
Yeah, basically, like Mr. Hughes hit his finisher for the win. Like there was nearly nothing to write home about.
Yeah, just there.
Yeah. So we get good old Mean Gene with our King of the Ring Control Center, and the only new match that once again they've already announced the brackets, they've announced the first round matches, they've announced all the other matches. So the only other new match they've announced a week before the show, or a little over a week, is we're getting Crush versus Shawn Michaels.
That's gonna be good.
That's gonna be good. So we're basically our card is flushed out. We're not gonna go over the card every week,
Right, yeah. Everything's been said.
for the most part. And speaking of Hacksaw, we get Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Mark Thomas, and I see what Vince is doing, and it irks me in a way where he's like, now every match with an enhancement talent is like, oh, well, we had an upset a couple weeks ago. It could happen again. Oh, remember what happened with the 1, 2, 3 a couple weeks ago? Could happen again, like every single match.
Yeah, now that you've said that, now I see it. I didn't process when I took my notes.
Yeah, and then with Mark Thomas, because you looked at Mark Thomas, he looked jacked.
He did.
But then you look at, he looked like he was a big dude, muscular, whatever. But then you put him next to Hacksaw. Hacksaw towered over him.
Yeah. Thomas did get that first strike, and it did nothing.
Yeah, no, Hacksaw no-sold the whole time. So I looked up Hacksaw's stats.
Mm-hmm.
He's 6'3". At 6'3", he towered over this dude. So this guy might have been maybe 6 foot, if not shorter. But yeah, Hacksaw no-sold this entire match.
Yeah. This was completely unnoteworthy too. For like the first time, I had nothing to say about this. 2 minutes and 22 seconds of eh.
And then Hacksaw hit the 3-point stance, his finisher.
Right.
But like this was still more noteworthy than the last match.
I guess.
And it might be because I have a thing for Hacksaw. Like I was a fan of Hacksaw as a kid. I still have kind of a weak spot for anything with Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I might have liked this more only because of my fandom for good old Jim. Then we get to weird thing where Razor Ramon had offered 1, 2, 3 kid $2,500 of his own money to get back in the ring with him. He said no. And so on one of the weekend shows, Razor Ramon bumped it up to $5,000. And we get some pre-recorded comments from 1, 2, 3 kid. And once again, I'm a big Sean Waltman fan. Still am. The X-Pac was one of my favorite wrestlers in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously not a dig at Sean at all. Once again,
right.
Massive fan. Like I had his poster in my room, and like I said, X-Pac was my favorite member. DX. He looks so lost in this promo.
He really did. I didn't real.
He's so much like you obviously see he gets so much better, but there was some. I was mission was the all shucks and G Willikers.
Yeah. I'll look forward to seeing him develop.
Oh yeah, he will. And I just noticed that he was sitting there watching it with Graham, and Grampies.
Mm-hmm.
He said Grandma and Grandpa. He was sitting there watching it with Gam. He specifically mentioned his grandparents watching the show.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually turns down the $5,000.
You'd say like in kayfabe, I get it. You never know what's going to happen. He could get hurt badly.
Yeah, but it's just you look at it. It was just like we see where this is going.
Right.
So, and then speaking of good old Razor Ramon, once again, one of the baddest theme songs of all time.
Oh yeah, very, very nice sounding.
He's going up against Tony Roy, and I did like, though, for as much as Vince talked about every other match, it could be an upset, the wrinkle they added to this one I did like. He's going up against Tony Roy, and there's a couple of times where Tony Roy got a couple rolls up, and you're like, oh, they really doing this again?
They almost made it credible.
Yeah, but it's the fact that they telegraphed it so much this whole episode, you knew Tony was not going to win.
Right.
But it was so telegraphed the rest of the show.
Right.
But yeah, once again, this was his old school Razor. He put some extra strength on that fall-away slam. Fall-away slam. You had the abdominal stretch. You had all the classics. And then the Razor's Edge for the quick win.
3 minutes, 30 seconds.
Once again, noteworthy as they were trying to do the storyline, but it was a little too telegraphed throughout the rest of the show.
Right, I agree with that.
And we have announced, so we're getting to the end of the show, we have announced that we are going to get Tito Santana versus Adam Bomb next week, and we are also Jerry Lawler's coming back with his King's Court segment with good old Yokozuna. And then in a kind of like a preview match for the 8-man tag we have in King of the Ring, we're going to get one of the Steiners and one of the Smoking Guns tagging up together against one of the Head Shrinkers and one of the members of Money Inc. So we're getting half the members in the 8-man tag.
Yeah, that's another match that's got potential.
Oh, yeah. All 8 men can go. And then you also got to consider, you're going to have the other 4 men are going to be ringside.
Right. So you got those shenanigans to look out for.
Oh, yeah. So this is, and plus, you're going to have Alpha going to come out with the Head Shrinkers. So you got Alpha to worry about.
Right.
So I see this breaking down into just a big old fucking Donnybrook.
Yeah, that's for sure going to happen. Like I would put money on that.
Uh-huh. But once again, that wouldn't bother me because that might be the match I'm looking forward to next week.
Right. It can be easily made to make sense.
Yeah, like I'm a fan of all 4 tag teams, so no notes.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a quick interview segment at the end. Vince is ringside. Out comes Mr. Fuji and Yokozuna. We're just comments about the match with Hogan next, coming up at King of the Ring.
Yeah, pretty much a standard foreign heel shtick, but it was good.
Yeah, like that's what Mr. Fuji did, coming out with this kimono. And the funny thing was, I remember Mr. Fuji coming out dressed like Oddjob from the James Bond.
Oh, I never saw that.
He came out in the suit and the bowler hat and everything. He looked like Oddjob.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Oddjob was Asian. Like, I don't remember, what specifically he was. But, so, evil foreign Asian manager dressed like Oddjob.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, once again, nothing, spectacular. Overall, I enjoyed this show. Other than, I think, the Mr. Hughes match, nothing out of here I was like, meh.
Yeah, other than the Mr. Hughes match and then then Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Thomas, what's his face?
Mark Thomas?
Yeah, those 2 matches were just kind of everything else was solid, including the promos.
Yeah, like I said, I think I like the Duggan match more than you did, only because I'm a fan of Jim Duggan.
Yeah, my match of the night is the IC title match.
Oh yeah, not even a question. It might be my match of both shows. We'll see how that comes, because WCW Saturday Night was just as solid tonight.
Agreed. Both shows were solid this week.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to go ahead and go to WCW Saturday Night from June 5th, 93. So we are in June now. We open up with Sid Vicious versus Rob Morgan, and there was a lot of smoke in Sid's entrance.
Yeah, and this match just really made me realize Sid is fucking huge.
Uh-huh. And they called him Vicious for a reason. Let me go ahead and look him up here while we talk. But yeah, Sid was known as Vicious for a reason.
Yeah.
Sid is billed at 6'9".
Holy crap.
Build, I'm going by his build weight, build weight and height. 6'9", 317.
Okay.
Not a small dude.
No. There wasn't a whole lot of note that really happened in the match. It was just basic enhancement.
Yeah.
But yeah, he ended it with a nasty powerbomb.
Oh, that was Sid's finisher was the powerbomb for a reason.
Yeah, that one took 1 minute 51 seconds.
I liked it.
Yeah, great promos from Colonel Parker and Sid Vicious after the match too.
Oh yeah, they're basically talking about talking about with the stuff they had with Harley Race last week. Sid always yelled a lot, so we see where this is going to go for Beach Blast. Which, even though they kind of spoiled it last week,
right?
We'll see where that goes. But yeah, I've noticed as I got older, I've started to appreciate Sid more.
Mm-hmm. You've said that a few times.
Yeah. So, once again, no notes.
Yeah. Only note I took, Sid is fucking huge.
Well, I mean, as in, I had no problems with this.
Yeah, that's what...
I mean, I took notes for the match, but I mean,
Yeah.
You know what I mean by no notes?
Yeah.
I might as well just make that into a shirt. The no notes t-shirt. So we come back for commercial with Tony and Larry. And they're joined by the Assassin once again. As much as I've seen the Assassin the last couple of months, I have no problems with him coming out doing a badass promo about how he's eventually still going to get... He hasn't gotten to Dusty Rhodes yet, and he's not going to stop until he does. And this was awesome.
I will get to him, and we will settle our business. Great promo.
Oh yeah, like, and those are the promos I liked where he did not raise his voice once.
Yeah.
Because anybody can scream out, "I'm gonna kick your ass, robble, robble, robble." Because I like the ones like the Assassin or Harley Race used to do that, where they were just quiet and it just sucked you in.
Yeah. I don't know, I can't think of the word for it, but it's so, they're hypnotic, maybe?
I can see that being the word you could use, yeah. Because it draws you in when you do a promo like that.
Yeah, honestly, I hate to use a dead meme, but I kind of got big dick energy from this. Just confidence without being cocky.
Yeah, and that's that. I like when they're confident but not cocky, because cocky will get you nowhere.
Right.
Like watching this, and obviously you can see that the Assassin is not in his peak ring shape,
Right.
but he made you believe he's going to whip somebody's ass. I believe the Assassin's going to beat somebody's ass.
Yeah, he sold the attitude.
He sold ice to an Eskimo.
I like that.
Thank you. But yeah, I believe when the Assassin said he's going to fight Dusty Rhodes, I believed him.
Yeah.
And once again, anytime we can, if this is going to get us more Dusty Rhodes on TV, yes, please.
Hell yes.
And you know how much I loved him, and you've really come around to really, really enjoy Dusty Rhodes as we've done this show.
Absolutely.
And that's what I like about this show is I get to share a lot of my favorites as I was growing up, and you've got to see why they're my favorites, and you've developed some of them as your favorites as well.
Yes, absolutely I have.
And that's what we wanted to do with this show. We just wanted to get different perspectives, but share what we like about wrestling and pop culture with each other.
Yeah.
And I think we've done it well so far.
I agree. I have been having a great time doing this ever since we came back.
Even the ones prior to our hiatus, we've gone through many different format changes.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what I wanted to do with the show. Like what we're doing with the show right now is what I wanted to do with it. So once again, no notes.
No notes.
No notes. Speaking of, let's going back to our relatively tangent-free episode, surprisingly. Max Payne versus Larry Santo. And one thing I saw about Max Payne I really liked, he played himself to the ring with his guitar.
Yeah, he was playing Norma Jean for quite a while.
And like anytime somebody does like this where they'll play an instrument or sing their own theme song, I'm like R-Truth does it when he raps his own song, or like Max Payne here playing his guitar. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah. So he's going up against Larry Santo. Larry Santo had a few seconds.
Yeah, he's tried so hard, but Max was just having none of it.
Bless his little heart. Slam Painkiller for the win.
37 seconds.
And so Larry is now ringside talking to Max Payne about his feud with Johnny B. Bad. Once again, I'm really liking, this was actually, I think, one of the better Max Payne promos since we've started the show.
No, I wouldn't say he's been bad, but he's definitely getting better.
He's getting better. I'm not that they were bad, but it's just, he's still doing, come to my lair and, the nonsensical stuff, but it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And just to get a little bit of context, this feud's over a confetti gun. Think about this. You got a evil rock star playing guy and a guy dressed as Little Richard fighting over a confetti gun. I fucking love wrestling.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it sounds completely ludicrous.
And this is why I love professional wrestling. You have a filthy rock star and Little Richard fighting over a confetti gun.
Yeah.
Because you cannot get that anywhere else where it makes sense. Does that make sense in any other form of entertainment?
No.
But yeah, we can get Little Richard versus Rob Halford over a confetti gun. You're like, yeah, I'll buy it. Okay, now something I cannot buy is Tony's back, and we go to a Catherine White, which I think was just for these segments. Cactus Jack's missing because we know that Cactus Jack, after the attack from Vader, was put into a hospital, and I believe they put him in a mental institution, and he went missing. So this Catherine White, which I'll have to look her up, because I know she does a couple segments. I'll look her up and see, what else she had done. But she was not like a regular correspondent for WCW.
Right.
And you could tell that she wasn't because she had the reporter voice.
Yeah.
So you got to remember. So she's gone around a mental hospital, and they have a Rain Man reference in 1993.
Remind me what Rain Man is.
This was definitely Dustin Hoffman, definitely 12 Minutes to Wapner, the movie with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise.
Okay. Never saw it.
It's a fantastic movie. But Dustin Hoffman he's autistic.
Okay.
He's an autistic savant where they'll drop like matchsticks on the floor, and he's like, and I'm just talking about how Dustin Hoffman talked in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta remember this movie came out in '88.
Okay.
One, I highly recommend this movie. Dustin Hoffman did an amazing job. He didn't do this as like a caricature of someone autistic. Basically, Tom Cruise is this young hotshot guy from the 80s, and his father's died and left everything to his other son, which was Dustin Hoffman, who's autistic and lives in a home.
Mm-hmm.
It's about how their relationship happens.
Okay. I like the sound of that.
Let's put it this way. In 1988, this made over $350 million in 1988.
Holy crap.
This was the highest grossing film. This had 8 nominations for Oscars.
Did it win any of them?
Not sure.
Okay.
But that the guy's talking about definitely 12 Minutes to Wapner. Definitely you have 60 seconds to Wapner. Okay, 48 seconds. That was Dustin Hoffman's cadence in Rain Man.
Okay.
You gotta remember, they're making an autism joke in 90. This is 93, folks. But Rain Man is an absolutely like Rain Man will get you. You know what? I've never seen you cry on a movie ever.
No, I don't get emotional at movies a lot.
But like this one is emotional. This is basically how Tom Cruise wanted nothing to do with him. He's like, oh well, yeah, he's trying to get the movie, and then you see their relationship with it, and then if you ever seen The Hangover, like the casino scene is like a parody of the scene from Rain Man.
I have not seen The Hangover.
Absolutely. Once again, I can't recommend Rain Man enough. But because we know how good Dustin Hoffman is, we know how good Tom Cruise is. And oh god, who else is in this? Nobody that I think you would heard of, but once again, Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman together.
Yeah, I looked it up real quick. It won 4 of those 8 Oscars.
Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Dustin Hoffman, and Best Screenplay.
Yes.
And it's just won so many awards.
I'll look at it sounds like something I would like.
Actually, I'm just looking up we're soft tangent here, folks. According to according to Wikipedia, the release of Rain Man in 1988 coincided with a tenfold increase in funding for medical research and diagnoses of individuals for autism. This movie is basically credited for bringing autism into the mainstream to give people awareness of what autism really is.
Yeah, right about that time, I was diagnosed with ADD.
I was a Ritalin generation, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah. It got revised to me being autistic when I was 15.
Mine never did, and I like to think not like to think, but you know what I mean. I like to think that I was misdiagnosed, but it was just never. But this was one of the movies that helped bring the autism spectrum to like more mainstream awareness in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been parodied and spoofed for in infinitum.
Yeah, so What's-Her-Face talks to 2 different mentally unwell people.
Yeah, she says that, the guy, the autistic one was like, he's either in Cleveland or Atlanta or Atlantis. And she's like, fuck, all right, fine. Okay, cool. Enjoy Wapner.
Yeah, both of them were kind of insensitive, and I really didn't like that.
But you also got to, once again, this was 93.
I understand it was a different time, but sometimes you have to look at it through the lens of the present.
True, but once again, I give it a pass once again. Now, did I say the segment was good? No, because the guy also had a shitty Jack Nicholson impression, too. It's like, oh, Jack's over there, and it's a guy talking like this, toots.
Right.
And his impression wasn't much better than mine.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm not like, this doesn't bother me, because, once again, this was 93, is a different time. The segment itself wasn't good.
No, it was not.
Quality-wise, not caricatures aside, as a segment, this was not good. But yeah, like I can let it slide because once again, it's like watching a movie from like the 40s or 50s. Is it tasteless? Sure. Does it make the movie any worse than it already is? Not necessarily. I can watch it and be like, I understand that okay, perfect example of, and I'm not trying to dispute your you have your own beliefs. I'm not disputing that.
Right.
I'm just showing you from my end. One of my all-time favorite comedies is Blazing Saddles.
I have seen Blazing Saddles, and I also very much enjoy it.
You can't make that now.
Right. The things were okay back then that are too insensitive to do now.
Let's put it this way: the farting scene. That's the first fart in a movie.
Really?
Yep, first fart in a movie. There was so many black jokes, hard R's, and you know what I mean by hard R's in that movie. There was
Yes, I do.
stereotypes at the end. You know when they're going through the movie set.
Right.
I think that movie's literally it's up there with one of my. It's that and The Great Race are my two all-time favorite comedies.
I haven't seen it recently, but I remember enjoying it when I did see it.
Mm-hmm. I love Mel Brooks in general.
And Mel Brooks is a genius.
He did another black joke in the History of the World Part 1, and I don't know if I can actually say it on here. It wasn't the N-word, but it was another word for said person.
Right.
Let's put it this way. I can't see the joke on this podcast.
Gotcha.
It's funny. It's hilarious. I can't say it. I'll tell you know what? I'll tell it to you off air. Because the jokes, I think you would enjoy the joke.
Okay.
But, okay, anyways.
Tangent.
There's our tangent, folks. Boom. But yeah, overall, this segment was not good.
No.
This was honestly, I think, a rare miss for WCW.
Yeah, on the whole, this WCW Saturday Night has been decent at worst.
Yeah, this was the worst thing they've done on the show since we've started.
Agreed.
And, subject matter aside, modern sensitivity aside.
Right.
This just wasn't good.
Agreed.
Okay, anyways. 800 minutes later, we got our next match, and I was not mad at this match because we get NWA World Champion Barry Windham versus Pez Whatley, who we've established had done plenty of time in the Mid-Atlantic Jim Crockett time frame. So not a young gun, and this is not a new guy.
So is Pez Whatley really that small, or is Barry Windham just bigger than I realized?
Yes.
Okay.
Barry Windham was a good 6'6". Let me check. I want to say 6'6" at least. Hot damn! How good am I?
6'6"?
6'6" on the nose.
Nice.
And then Pez Whatley, Pistol Pez Whatley.
Gotta remember the pistol.
Yep. 5'10". So there's a good 8-inch difference.
Yeah, that's about as tall as me.
Yeah. And I think we got a good friend of ours that we play Magic with. He's 6'6", if I'm correct. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
I think I don't think he's 6'6", but he's not far off.
No.
So that's about the difference, height difference.
Mm-hmm.
Between him and you.
Okay, yeah, that puts it in context.
Yeah. But yeah, Pez could go. Like, if you ever watch any, I've seen a lot of, Starrcade stuff. So Pez could go. And we saw... before we get into the match, we have announced that Barry Windham is defending the NWA World title at the Clash of Champions against a show favorite.
Too Cold Scorpio.
Yep, I'm excited for that. We've seen him wrestle before, so I'm excited for this.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that match.
Yeah, and I actually did not mind this match either.
Very methodical, very well-paced.
Yeah, we got a small flurry. I noticed towards the end, then we get that small flurry with Pez, and then he just caught a boot right to the mouth. And I was like, oh, you're done.
And yeah, this match made me realize with the ref, Randy Anderson, they need to be in decent shape too so they can take bumps safely and then diving into counting position.
Oh yeah, people, you have to be a ref. You can't be a slovenly ref. You're not going to make it.
Right. Yeah, today kind of codified that for me.
Yeah, a good wrestling school will train you because a manager kind of has to at some point too. Because, a good wrestling school will train you as a wrestler, as a manager, as a referee. Not necessarily to do all those roles, but a good wrestling school will train you to be a referee if you want to be a referee.
Right.
Perfect example, AEW. Bryce Remsburg, the AEW ref, went to wrestling school to be a referee.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, a good wrestling school will teach you how to do that.
Right.
I did mostly managing the short time I was in. I didn't get a chance to get in the ring. And in hindsight, I should have just stayed as a manager.
I gotcha.
They have to, and if you see a lot of refs now, a lot of the guys on TV now, regardless of wrestler or not, are in shape.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, once again, small tangent aside, Barry Windham had his DDT for the win.
5 minutes and 23 seconds. Good stuff.
Yeah, good match. And then we go backstage. Rick Rude's personal locker room with Tony. And Rick still has the U.S. title belt in his possession. And he has a couple large gentlemen with him, but they are not bodyguards.
They are belt guards.
Belt guards guarding the U.S. title that he still has in his possession.
And he has it in a Halliburton briefcase to boot.
Yeah. So these guys are going to be with him at all times. We get our next match, speaking of the U.S. title picture, The Natural, Dustin Rhodes, against Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. And I was expecting what I got out of this match, which is not a bad thing. And then we also get Hall of Famer was ringside.
Teddy Long. First time I've seen him since we started this.
Playa. My opinion, the greatest SmackDown general manager of all time. Playa.
I'll look forward to seeing him when we get to SmackDown like 7 years down the line.
Oh, even longer, because this was like in the 2000s.
Oh.
We're talking like the Ruthless Aggression SmackDown 6 era.
Okay.
Yeah. He was after Stephanie McMahon as GM.
Oh, wow.
So, anyways, he's ringside. He has started out as a ref before. I've seen him do some interviewing. When he went to the WWF, he was reffing there for a while before he became manager and general manager, then the general manager of SmackDown. So he's also a ref. He was a manager for Doom back in the late 80s, early 90s, which is where Ron Simmons was at before he became the singles wrestler we see now. So he's been involved in wrestling in various aspects for decades. Like I said, manager, referee, commentator. Yeah, he's had a career. But so we'll see where this goes. We'll see Teddy here a little bit long. I like this match. Pretty solid match, honestly.
Solid basics.
Yeah, once again, we've seen this with Dustin since the beginning. His basics are some of the best basics you're going to see, at least, especially during this era.
Absolutely.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of those, there's not a lot to talk about this match, but at the same time, because we've seen it before, but it's not stuff that I'm not...
You're still happy to see it.
Yeah. This is a typical Dustin Rhodes match on TV, which I like.
Yeah, he got huge elevation on a back body drop.
Mm-hmm.
And then just hits the Bulldog for the win after a rope running spot.
Yeah, like a great reversal off that reversal to the Bulldog. I thought was really great.
5 minutes and 2 seconds.
Yeah, great match. And then Tony's ringside with Dustin talking about his rivalry with Rick Rude. And this is, he brought up an interesting point. Neither man lost the title because when neither man was pinned to lose their title because...
Right, the bell rang because bad ref positioning.
On top of that, but when Rick Rude lost it, he was injured and couldn't defend it, so he was stripped for the title because we talked about that U.S. title tournament, at the beginning of our show, like episode 1.
Right.
That was supposed to be a number 1 contenders tournament. So neither man has been pinned for the title yet.
Right.
Which I think is an interesting angle. So we get into a tag team match. Honestly, this was also another one of my favorite matches of this show, at least.
Yeah, this was another good one.
Only because of the style, and I'll get to it in a second. We get Paul Orndorff and Dirty Dick Slater versus Jim Neidhart, the Junkyard Dog. And I noticed that, Jim comes to the ring, and then he goes over to Tony, and he gives Tony a freaking goatee to wear.
Yeah, that was a funny spot.
I want one. I want one of those Jim Neidhart goatees. And we've talked about, speaking of Jim Neidhart, I've really gotten into figures, and I'm a big fan of, the Major Wrestling Figures podcast, all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they did an episode where they went over every single Kenner action figure. Like, we've seen the commercials still on Raw. The action figures got the little special move.
Yeah.
Because they just had, they were a commercial with, Virgil and IRS and Macho Man and some other figures on there.
Yeah.
I had one of those.
Oh, cool.
I had one. Out of all the different lines and series that came out for those figures, I had one.
Which one did you have?
Jim Neidhart.
Oh, cool.
Which is why I'm bringing it up here. I had the New Heart Foundation Jim Neidhart.
Gotcha.
Who you pull, he had a clothesline. Like his waist twisted so you could twist him and pull his arm out and he would hit him with a clothesline.
Neat.
And they would always call it some special move, it's like gimmick-wise name move. I forgot what they called it, but it was Jim Neidhart had a clothesline with it.
Wasn't it the Analyzer, I think?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But like, as in, like they called it something different. Like the Undertaker's like, oh, and they would do his clothesline or his axe handle, be like, oh, with the tombstone smash or whatever.
Right.
Like they would call it something like that. Like it wasn't necessarily their finisher name, but it was just like, oh, with the Anvil Annihilator, and it was just a clothesline
Gotcha.
or whatever it happened to be,
Hmm.
So anyway, okay, tangent aside. The reason I like all these style of men, because once again, this style is like old school wrestling. This is when I say I like old school wrestling. This is what I like
Gotcha.
because I'm a big fan of Mid South wrestling, which you can see at least from '81 up until towards the end is on Peacock. Like Mid South, if you want to watch old school, Mid South is probably some of my favorite. So if you ever watch it, you'll understand where a lot of my favorites come from, like style wise. If you watch Mid South, and it starts in '81, like they have episodes from before I was born.
Oh, wow.
All four of these men were in Mid South at one point.
Gotcha.
Orndorff, especially in '81. I know Dick Slater did some time. Jim Neidhart and Butch Reed were the tag champions, I think, in like '83 and '84.
Hmm.
And then Junkyard Dog, when he was there, was the man. He was the babyface. JYD was the most popular wrestler in Mid South. I would probably say out of the entire history of Mid South, that is the number one babyface. Period.
Wow.
Him and Michael Hayes wrestled at the New Orleans Superdome.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Junkyard Dog was basically the Hulk Hogan of Mid South.
Okay.
So this is basically Mid South in a tag team match right here.
Gotcha.
Now you can see why I like this match a lot.
Absolutely.
So, once again, Mid South fans, watch this match. You're gonna get what you want.
Hmm.
Ref bump. Match breaks down after a ref bump, and the ending was kind of confusing because Jim saves Junkyard Dog from getting an order of pile driver to the concrete. Now, Anvil and Jim won, but I was not sure if it was by DQ or count out.
Yeah, they didn't say.
It was unclear.
Yeah, the match took 6 minutes, 28 seconds.
Yeah, great match. And I'm going to say right now, this was my favorite match of
Saturday night.
Yeah. But and the ending didn't ruin it for me. It was just odd because I was unclear on the official, whether it was count out or DQ. Again, speaking of favorites, one of my Mount Rushmore comes out next.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Mike Moon. And here's the thing. Once again, love me. Ever since I was a kid, I've been a massive Ricky Steamboat fan.
Mm-hmm.
We've established he's one of my all-time, like, Mount Rushmore.
Right.
God, his theme song was awful.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it either.
He was like, he's a family man. He loves his wife and his kids. And I'm like, I get it. Like, he's always been a big family man, even with his character. Like, he's coming out with his wife and son. He's a family man. Great. You got this guy dressed like a dragon, breathing fire, literally breathing fire. Oh, you're expecting some kind of cool, maybe like a bit of a Far East theme or something cool. It's going to pump you up with fire breathing. And it's like, roar. Oh, he loves his wife. He goes home to his son. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm like,
doesn't fit.
Does not fit. Better than his match last week, though.
Yeah, to be fair, that's not a hard improvement to make.
No, but you can see the difference between a good, where, when I always say that, you have to make your opponent look good more than you make yourself look good.
Right. If you can elevate other people, they can elevate you back.
Exactly. We see the difference between this week and last week between Mike Moon and then I forget who he wrestled last week.
Wasn't it Chris Sullivan?
I think it was, yeah. But you see the difference now when I tell you this.
But yeah, the match had a lot of solid basics.
Yeah. Once again, Ricky Steamboat. This, that's who they. Ricky Steamboat, Dustin Rhodes wrestled each other. Our episode 1 of DNA.
Yeah, they tore the house down with that match.
Oh yeah, and then the week after that was just good.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, all they did was simple stuff. But Ricky fights back, hits his crossbody, and for the win.
1 minute, 47 seconds.
Yeah, liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So we come back from commercial, and we get Ric Flair with one of his 3 costume changes for the episode. We're already halfway done with the episode.
Mm-hmm.
We get 3 costume changes with Ric Flair. Actually, Ric Flair and Arn.
Right.
We get, once again, if you get Ric Flair and Arn and Cinnamon with the mic, I will not complain. Especially, I love, early 90s Ric Flair.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
And it was. Basically, all this was them talking about their tag match with the Blondes at the Clash and it's going to be for the tag titles. And then Ric Flair says it will be 2 out of 3 falls.
Yeah, I like that stipulation just in general.
Yeah. And it's funny, if you go back to early episodes, the Blonde said if they ever become tag champs, the match stipulation they wanted, 2 out of 3 falls. We're bringing it back, folks.
I forgot about that.
Yup. I love when they bring stuff like this back in. Here's one of the things is, since I've started watching this show, some of my favorite things from WCW has not only been Vader, just Vader in general, but just the rise of the Hollywood Blondes and how they've come with just two bad guys wrestling together to becoming this awesome tag team. Like, Vader and the Hollywood Blondes have been my favorites of the first 6 months of WCW.
Yeah, seeing them come up has been great.
Yeah, which sucks because by the end of the year they're going to be broke up, and that pisses me off so bad.
That quickly?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Guess I'll just have to enjoy it while I can.
Yeah, because I'm pissed because this tag team could have been so good, which they were, but if they could have gone down as one of the best. Because you've seen what they've done this year.
They weren't given the time they needed.
Oh no, they could have. You could have had these guys go on even longer. We got the Blondes for less than a year.
Ugh.
Yeah. Anyways, so we go to commercial. We come back, and we do come back with Teddy Long. He's talking with Tony about, he's doing a lot of community work. A lot of work in the community, especially in the Atlanta area. Talking about Scorpio's title match with Barry Windham with the Clash. Barry Windham comes out and disagrees, and out comes Frilly McFrilly, the pirate shirt from Seinfeld, who announces that next week, I believe they said next week?
Yeah.
Lord Steven and Sir William will be here.
Lord Steven is obviously Steve Regal, but I'm not sure who William is.
I'll explain it to you. I know who it is. I'll explain it to you next week.
Okay.
But Steve Regal, William Regal on TV, will I complain?
Absolutely not. He's amazing.
My Mount Rushmore. 2 of my Mount Rushmores right there. Ricky Steamboat and William Regal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I've seen. Yeah, we won't trust me. It'll be years before we see part 4 of my Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Eddie Guerrero.
Gotcha.
Regal, Steamboat, Henning, Eddie Guerrero. It's my top 4. So anyways, once again, I'm excited. More Regal on TV? Yes, please. Or, I'm sorry. Indubitably. By the way, love that word. Especially when I found out that it was a real word, too.
Yeah, it's a good word.
It's a good word.
Very vocabulatory.
So we're learning quadrilogy today, and indubitably. And I can't say it normally. Like, I can't say it without sounding like a douchebag. Every time I've ever said it was indubitably. So anyways, we're going from British to Rednecks because we got a tag team match. Speaking of British and Rednecks, actually, in this match. Yep. It is Sting and the British Bulldog versus Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce.
Yeah, Sting starts and he goes nuts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the Sting. Remember, I was a little singer as a kid. You can see why.
Mm-hmm.
British Bulldog doesn't get tagged in, but basically the bad guys take over for a good while before Sting does take over and goes nuts again.
Yep.
Once again, this was a basic match, not much to write home about. Scorpion Death. Sting has Slazenger in the Scorpion Deathlock, and Shanghai breaks it up. Bulldog tosses him over the rope. No disqualification, so I don't know if they've, gotten rid of that rule yet. But once again, we haven't got confirmation on that yet. No DQ. But the good guys do have a tag finisher.
Yep, Davey Boy hoists Pierce up. Sting tackled him off Davey's shoulders.
Yep, it was like a suplex crossbody for the win.
4 minutes and 12 seconds. Good match.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So we get what has been my favorite part of Saturday night since it came back. Flair for the gold.
Yeah, Johnny B. Bad's the guest this time, and it's great.
Yeah, it's the soda casual day at the soda shop. Ric Flair's out there in his loafers and jeans with his Johnny B. Bad shirt. Arn Anderson looking like a friggin'... He's looking like a greaser. Like the guy that was a greaser in the 50s and just never stopped being one.
Gotcha.
Like, I love Arn. I'm teasing. I love Arn. We got the Bobby sock dancers. Like, this is basically, hey, we get it. Get it? Johnny B. Bad looks like Little Richard. Get it?
Yes, I get it.
But that was the whole thing. Like, I kind of like that every Flair for the Gold has like a little theme or kind of little twist to it every week.
Yeah.
We have the kimonos, we have the tuxes at Starrcade. Last week we had everybody in their workout gear. Like, it's kind of cool. I didn't even know they really did this. I kind of like this.
You meant Super Brawl, right? Not Starcade?
No, actually, I meant Slamboree, actually.
Oh, Slamboree.
We were both wrong. I keep saying Starcade, but Starcade's actually not till December.
Right.
But yeah, out and he gives Ric Flair. Johnny comes out, gives Ric Flair feather boa. So we got feather boa and blue jeans. Once again, we're talking about how this whole feud is over a confetti cannon or confetti gun. But Johnny says specifically that that was the first one that he ever had because it was given to him by Mama B. Bad. And but yeah, this was. I like this because I like Johnny B. Bad like on the mic. This was like he was just like, I'm bad. I'm gonna punch him in the face. Woohoo!
Yeah, it was fun. Fun segment.
And then Fifi comes out and he gives Ric Flair said she has made him some tutti frutti taffy.
Ooh.
And I have never turned down taffy.
I like it too. I don't have it much though.
Yeah, but I like it. It's like, yeah, we got a record player, so we're gonna play one of your favorite songs, Johnny B. Bad. And what did they play? His favorite song?
I don't remember. Was it Tutti Frutti?
No, it was Johnny B. Bad's theme song.
Oh,
That was his theme song. And once again, you know me, I love me some Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
My man can't dance. You see him struggling to do the twist.
He tried. God bless him, he tried.
Bless his heart. I'm glad he can wrestle because he sure as hell can't dance. And then we get actually what is actually also the last match of the show, but not last segment. Great match, by the way. Kensuke Sasaki versus Rick Rude.
Yeah, this was great.
And here's a big glaring thing that kind of pissed me off a little bit during Rick's entrance. Is I get a lot of these, like, especially when you get specific songs for, theme songs or whatever, licensing issues.
Right.
So the network or I almost said Diablo, a Peacock will dub over these songs with horrible renditions. They dubbed over Rick Rude's awesome WCW theme song.
Okay, that's why it sounded so out of place.
And not only was it out of place, it drowned out Tony and Larry. You could hear them talking. But you couldn't hear what they were saying. Why are you dubbing? One, you own the rights to that song. Two, why that song? His WCW theme song at this time was awesome.
I could barely hear Tony and Larry. I thought it was a problem with the master from the.
I did too. Then I realized the same thing. I was like, "Well, this is loud." I was like, "Wait a minute, this isn't even his theme song." But this is the first week you've done that since he's come back. He's used it multiple times.
Okay, yeah, now it makes even less sense. Now what?
And okay, that problem aside. Oh, this was really good. And what I've seen so far of Kensuke Sasaki, I'm enjoying.
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah. I like how, psychology works, kids, how he's focusing on Rick Rude's arm, especially, a lot of his upper body strength. And then obviously his finish of the Rude Awakening is a neck breaker, so he needs to use his arm.
Right.
And I do like Larry said that Sasaki is on Rick Rude like Missy Hyde on a rich guy. I was like, okay, Larry, yeah, I got you. And I did like also one arm hip swivel from Rick Rude. He is on that arm, but he's still got a hip swivel in.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, he did come out with his not under the belt, but the belt guards who stood ringside with the briefcase the whole time.
Yep.
And I was like, that badass power slam though from Sasaki though, loved it.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
This was a great match. Once again, so both men are outside, and Rude hits Sasaki for the DQ with the briefcase. Once again, this DQ didn't bother me. We're furthering the storyline with Rhodes and Rude with the belt. Sasaki has, a relationship with Dustin Rhodes. Like, it worked for me.
Yeah. Earlier on, there was also a really good superplex from the front corner.
Oh, yeah. So good. Like, this does make me want to go back and watch some of Kensuke's matches in Japan, especially like New Japan.
Anyway, TV time of 11 minutes and 14 seconds.
Fantastic match.
This was my match of WCW.
I would give it that. I think I would give this just a skosh more than the tag match, only because of my love for like Mid-South style wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Two wildly great matches, I think are both tied for my favorite, but wildly different styles.
Agreed. Yeah, it's the whole apples to oranges to whatever comparison.
Yeah, and the apples and the oranges were both delicious this week.
Right.
So they keep starting to beat up on Sasaki. So Dustin comes out. He does get his hand on the belt. Like he almost grabs it back.
Yeah, he tries so hard. Yeah, but Rude's just able to get away.
Just a bit outside. That's a major league reference.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bit outside. All right, so we're back from commercial, and we get a match. Match announcement for Clash of the Champions from Tony, and I'm excited. And I would like you to reveal it, sir.
All right, we're going to have Sid Vicious, Big Van Vader, and Rick Rude versus Sting, British Bulldog, and Dustin Rhodes.
Oh, that's going to be so good.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one.
So we're going to have this. We're going to have Too Cold Scorpio versus Barry Windham for the title. And we're going to have Ric Flair and Arn Anderson versus the Hollywood Blondes in 2 out of 3 falls for the tag titles.
Oh, yeah.
They gave this away on television.
Well, it generates buzz.
So we're getting ready to go announce the next match, but Ric Flair's music plays.
Huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're getting ready to next match. Out comes Ric Flair's music. But that's not Ric Flair on the microphone. We hear Steve Austin announcing a Flair for the Old. And we don't have Fifi the maid, we have Pate the maid.
Mm-hmm.
And out comes Brian Pillman, hunched over with the cane, Ric Flair robe, wig, all this. And he comes out to interview Austin as Ric Flair. And this was amazing.
I loved this.
This was so good.
It was hilarious.
It was awesome. Because there was points where like Brian Pillman was acting like he was asleep when he's trying to interview Steve and all this other stuff. And get it? Because Ric Flair's old, which I don't think he really was at that time.
Right. What's he now? Like 70, I think?
Yeah, so let's figure this out. While we're looking this up. Yeah, so while we're talking about this, and this was great because once again we're going over.
Okay, Rick is 74 right now.
So let's go here. 74, 30 years back. He was 44.
Right.
And once again, I like this. This was great. And then out comes Arn Anderson, and he takes them both on, and he holds his own for quite a while until Pillman beats him with the cane.
Yeah, and the brawl is still going as TV time runs out.
With Flair comes in and does help, even the odds. In his third costume change, by the way, this is Ric Flair. This is like when you play a video game and like their old wrestling games, and they came with 4 different outfits.
Right.
So this is Ric Flair player 3. Yeah, great way to end the show.
Agreed.
Once again, overall, great. Oh, this was so good. And I would have to, honestly, my opinion, I would have to give it to Saturday Night this week.
I think Raw was just a little better. Both of them were in A-.
It's the Mr. Hughes match that does that for me, that puts me on the other side.
Gotcha.
So, okay, match for me, honestly, it's a tie between Sasaki and Rude, and then the tag match, the Mid-South tag match.
Mm-hmm. Match of Saturday night is Rude and Sasaki for me.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's my match of the week, too.
Match of the week, I'm going to have to give it to Jannetty and Bam Bam.
That's my honorable mention.
Yeah. So, basically, we seem to be on the same page, at least this week.
Right.
So, I completely forgot. We got to do the movies. I completely forgot. I'm glad I keep it up on the tab.
Yeah, while you're looking that up, I can save us a little time and say that on the Billboard Hot 100 for June 5th, 1993, no change.
You want to go ahead and go over it for us, though?
Yep. Number 5 is Love Is from Beverly Hills 90210 by Vanessa Williams and Brian McKnight.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 is Weak by SWV.
Okay.
Number 3 is Knockin' the Boots by H-Town. Number 2 is Freak Me by Silk. And number 1 is That's the Way Love Goes by Janet Jackson.
A lot of the same songs.
Same songs in the same order as last week.
We do have a lot of movement here, guys.
Alrighty.
By the way, Indecent Proposal is not in the top 5 anymore.
This is its 9th week, I think?
8th.
Okay, so it was in the top 5 for 7 weeks.
7 weeks. It's now number 8.
Okay.
Okay, we have 3 new entries in this. Number 5 is Hot Shots Part D, which was 2, now it's 5. Made $9.6 million for a grand total of $22.7. Not bad.
Okay.
Number 4, $9.6 million. Super Mario Brothers. That piece of shit.
It is firmly in so bad it's good for me.
We'll agree to disagree.
Okay.
Because that movie's not good.
It is not good, but I can laugh at it.
Hey, you know what? We have our differences.
Indeed, everybody does.
Number 3 is actually number 3 from last week. Dave. Dave made 10.3 million for a total of 42 million. It only lost 0.9% of its box office from last week.
Oh, small drop.
Yeah. Number 2 is for a 14.1 million. First week is Made in America. It is a movie starring Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg.
Mm-hmm.
And are you ready for the synopsis?
Do tell.
A young black woman discovers her father was a sperm donor, and if that weren't enough, he's white.
Oh, geez.
That's what the movie's about. You're flummoxed.
Completely.
All right, and number 1, with a total of $25 million, the Sylvester Stallone action vehicle, Cliffhanger.
It's another movie I know of but have never seen.
It's an early 90s Sylvester Stallone action movie, and this is not the only Sylvester Stallone action movie that's going to come out this year.
What else are we going to have?
Demolition Man comes out around October.
Oh, right, because Jesse Ventura was filming scenes for that.
Yep. By the way, I just want to say that right now, this is not, the biggest drop or the, gain. 8 weeks in, Decent Proposal made $4 million. Right now, at a grand total of $93 million.
Wow.
In 8 weeks. Okay, so the biggest gains is, once again, how I talk about how they try to release movies or whatever. Try to get a little bit extra towards the end of its box office run.
Right.
Speaking of Clint Eastwood and speaking of Westerns, Unforgiven. It made a gain of 211.9%. It made in the box office $1.6 million for a grand total of $97.4 million.
Over how long a span?
43 weeks.
Okay.
So it's been in the top 10, top 15 for almost a year.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman. Need I go on?
No, you don't.
In a Western. It's mwah.
Right.
And the biggest drop is actually another movie it's been in the 25 weeks in the theaters. Dropped $54.9 million, so this is probably towards the end of its run. A Few Good Men, which is another amazing movie. Tom Cruise, Demi Moore, Jack Nicholson, the military legal drama. You Can't Handle the Truth, that movie.
Oh, that's where that came from. Okay.
It made $255,000. Well, it was also only in 204 theaters. It's 204 screens, rather.
Mm-hmm.
It being 25 weeks in the theaters, it's still $140.3 million.
Total gross over that time?
Highly successful movie, $140 million.
Gotcha.
So this is probably, this is when they start phasing stuff out.
Right.
But yeah, that's just so we can get kind of a reference here. That is Dropkicks and Attractions for this week. You can find us at capital D and capital A Podcast 1 on Twitter. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Amazon, Good Pods, and iHeartRadio. And I know I'm usually missing one, but we have links to all the places you can find us is pinned on our Twitter page. Where can we find you, sir?
I am Big Boct, BIGBOCT, on most socials. I'm most active on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And on Reddit, I go by my old name, Boct1584.
Okay. And Letterboxd.
Yes, that too.
That you're going to finish this week, aren't you?
Yes, I will.
There we go. You do have a follower, by the way.
You?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So, by the way, I'm Xander Invictus, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Basically, anywhere you can find me, social media-wise, I'm there.
Alrighty, folks, that's been Dropkicks and Attractions. See you next mission.
Peace out. Holla!